the protest which will take a place in future history book. Galleface protest, Colombo, Dinesh edition Photograpic.
We are closely following developments in Sri Lanka, where in the past few days the authorities announced a state of emergency and other restrictions in response to mass protests against the country's
worst economic crisis in decades. Public frustration had been rising in recent months, with largely peaceful demonstrations taking place across the country. The situation has worsened over the past 2 weeks amid sudden shortages in fuel, cooking gas, and some essential food items, as well as power cuts. This led to further protests by Sri Lankans left desperate by the rising cost of living and difficulties to obtain basic items. After a demonstration outside the president's residence on 31 March, the government declared a state of emergency on 1 April, announced a 36-hour curfew from 6 p.m. on 2 April, and shut down social media networks for some 15 hours on 3 April. There have also been reports of excessive and unwarranted police violence against protesters. We are concerned that such measures are aimed at preventing or discouraging people from legitimately expressing their grievances through peaceful protests, and that they frustrate the exchange of view. On matters of public interest, we remind the Sri Lankan authorities that measures related to states of emergency must comply with international human rights law, should be limited to the extent strictly required by the situation, and be proportionate to it, and should not be used to stifle dissent or hinder peaceful protest. The Human Rights Office will continue to closely watch developments, as the High Commissioner noted in her recent report to the Human Rights Council in February. The drift towards militarization and the weakening of institutional checks and balances in Sri Lanka have affected the state's ability to effectively tackle the economic crisis and ensure the realization of the economic, social, and cultural rights of all people in Sri Lanka. The High Commissioner has also previously voiced her concern that the government responds to criticism and dissent in ways that undermine civic space, and we reiterate these concerns today. We urge the government, political parties, and civil society to engage in immediate, inclusive, and meaningful dialogue to find a solution for the pressing economic and political challenges that Sri Lanka faces and to avoid further polarization of the situation.